Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the 20 best books of the year so far according to Amazon's editors. I love a list like this, and as I'm going to just be reacting to this rapid fire, maybe not rapid fire style, I do love to talk, so I would also love to hear your opinions about these books. So yeah, if you're new to my channel, just know that I love books and reading. I love a list. Love a good book list to sink my teeth into, to think about and to react to. Sometimes these listy videos take a more thoughtful, structured approach, and sometimes I'm just giving you my rapid fire opinions, which is more of what this video is today. If you are enjoying the vibe, please subscribe, and without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. The very first book is a romance entitled One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. Here's what they have to say about the book. One Golden Summer is a vacation in book form, and like only the best vacations, I didn't want it to end. It might be my favorite Carly Fortune yet. I don't know who Carly Fortune is. I've not even heard of her. Alice fell in love with photography at the lake. She was 17 and took pictures of 3 carefree teenagers on a yellow boat. Now a professional photographer, she's lost the magic that inspired her all those years ago. After her grandmother has a fall, they decide to head back to their favorite place, Barry's Bay, to lift their spirits. And who turns up but a very grown-up, very handsome man in a yellow boat? Charlie. For those who read Every Summer After, you are finally getting Charlie's story, and it's more than worth the wait. If you don't read that book, I recommend it, but it's not a requirement. This one is certainly stand alone. This one can certainly stand alone. It's a life-affirming, sexy, joyful read. Okay, so here's what's interesting is that we're getting a similar take. It sounds like we're covering the same summer, but from a different character's perspective. And if this is true, then Carly Fortune is taking a page from Jessa Hastings' book, or her set of books, Magnolia Parks. Jessa Hastings has these TikTok famous books. I've only ever so slightly heard of them because I am not on TikTok, but she has these TikTok famous books where you follow young, wealthy people around having very, very, very messy relationships. And I think her books are sort of, not famously, but sort of have this formula where you go through the events from one character's perspective, and then you go through the exact same events, but from a different character's perspective. And so then you get the inner workings and the inner life of a different character that you maybe villainized in one of the previous books. It sounds like Carly Fortune might be doing something similar and thus might be following in Jessa Hastings' footsteps. I'm not going to write this off, but I'm not really a romance reader to begin with, though this does sound quite sweet. And I like photography as the subject of a book. Next up, Seeking Shelter, A Working Mother, Her Children, and a Story of Homelessness in America by Jeff Hobbs. This is a narrative nonfiction. Here's what they have to say about it. Evelyn is fiercely protective of her children, helping each one finish their homework every night, creating a safe place for them to sleep and play, surrounding them with her mighty love and dreams for their future. She is also homeless, and readers of this narrative nonfiction are along for the ride of their unbelievable struggle for survival, literally as the entire family of 6 lives in their Toyota Highlander while Evelyn juggles her job, childcare, and the chaotic streets of Los Angeles. Los Angeles, that can be a really tough place. So Jeff Hobbs's compassion and storytelling shines on every page with an intimacy that won't let you look away from how issues like lack of affordable housing and education policies utterly devastate families. Wow, okay, this sounds really interesting. And yet there is hope, especially after Evelyn meets another mom, Wendy, who turns her family's life around and is called to help others. This deeply moving story of a devoted mother striving to provide for her children will linger long after you turn the last gut punch of a page. Okay, wow, this sounds really interesting. I do love a narrative nonfiction. I don't often read them. I do love them though. Like, it's something that I'm working on and would love to read more of. I wonder if my library has it. This sounds like a page turner and also incredibly educational. I like books that give you the details of how a system works. I think that that's really fascinating, especially when you get a very articulate and well-crafted writing about a certain topic, especially when it said the lack of affordable housing. I wonder how Jeff Hobbs writes about that, and if he writes about it with eloquence and delicacy and from this place of knowledge, and also education policies. As somebody who has been an educator herself, I think that that is incredibly interesting. The Poppy Fields by Nikki Erlick. This is the author of The Measure, which was pretty popular, I don't know, a year or two ago. The Measure essentially is just diving into the concept, this somewhat dystopian concept of what would life be like, what would our society be like if we knew exactly how long we were going to live, and playing out different scenarios of that concept. Now, The Poppy Fields is an eloquently told, insightful tale that will captivate fans of speculative fiction. I sometimes like speculative fiction. It just depends. A canceled flight throws three strangers together. Their split-second decision to share a rental car launches them into an unexpected journey that becomes a meditative exploration of grief and healing. During their trip, you learn these random travelers share a common destination, the Poppy Fields, a mysterious place where the heartbroken choose to sleep away their pain for months at a time. Again, Nikki Erlick is doing similar things as she did with The Measure. It's this maybe dystopian, sort of slightly odd, unsettling concept, and then diving into that. So in this one, we're just sleeping away our pain. Next up is a debut book. It's called The Names by Florence Knapp. And this is what it's about. We often ponder how life's decisions, both monumental and minute, shape our destinies, from choosing a college to accepting a blind date that leads to the one. The Names explores the weight of our choices in a unique and thoughtful way. Told with raw emotion that left me breathless at times, it all starts with Cora, a wife and mother trapped in a suffocating grip of her husband Gordon's control. Cora, her young daughter, Maya, and their newborn trek to a local registration office to finalize the baby's name. This single moment splinters into three distinct timelines, each spanning 35 years, masterfully illustrating how one choice can alter the entire fabric of multiple lives. I read a book similar to this. I will pop it on the screen. It was a young adult book that also explored the many different timelines of the multiverse, essentially, and how, yes, one decision can shape one's life, and it was done in this, I don't know, I liked it. I didn't love the book, so it makes me think that I might like but not love The Names. It's a Read with Jenna pick, so I'm sure it's getting traction from that celebrity choice. Anyways, we're moving on. We're moving on to a memoir. This has gotten a ton of traction, or at least it's been talked about. What seems like over and over and over again, it's Careless People, a cautionary tale of power, greed, and lost idealism by Sarah Wynne Williams. This is, as they say, an explosive firsthand account of working at the highest levels of Facebook. Sarah Wynne Williams doesn't pull any punches, recounting both hilarious and horrifying stories of hubris, conceit, and work culture that encourages leaning in only so far as it pertains to working as if there's nothing else in your life, including family or personal care. I have heard about this book. I am really not interested in reading about the inner workings of Facebook and how soul-sucking that is. I'm sure my imagination can do exactly, can work it out pretty well. I'm just not, there's other, company takedown books that I'm really interested in, including the one about taking down Pornhub. That one has been on my list since I read about it on Steve Donahue's blog. So this takedown of Facebook is just not really my thing. Another book that's making the rounds of this mid-year checkpoint is Hartwood by Amity Gog. So in the woods of Maine, 200 miles from the end of the Appalachian Trail, hiker Valerie Gillis goes missing. And the first anyone knows of it is when her husband reports she didn't show at a pre-arranged checkpoint. Immediately, a manhunt led by Maine State Game Warden Beverly gets underway. Initial descriptions of the missing hiker lead Lena, a resident of a Connecticut retirement community, to believe the missing woman is her own estranged daughter, and starts her on her own search from the confines of her wheelchair. So this is made up of interior monologues, police interview transcripts, letters Valerie writes to her mother, and more. I didn't know until reading this description, and I have seen Hartwood pop up here, there, and everywhere. I didn't know that it had all of these different kind of media, interviews and internal monologues and police reports. I didn't know it had all of that. And I do like a book that does that kind of thing. So maybe the book is more for me than I had initially thought. I'm telling you, this list has everything. And as much as I want to get into this, I don't really want to talk about this book. Mark Twain by Ron Chernow. I know that this author has written a lot of biographies and they've gotten a lot of traction. He is no stranger to the biography world, and this is his one on Mark Twain, one of America's great writers, okay? And I'm sure it's great. It's 1,000 pages, and for those who love biographies, this is exactly going to be probably your cup of tea, but I am not in the, what is the word? I am not in the market for a 1,000-page biography. There are a bunch of 1,000-page biographies that I want to read, and this is not one of them. A book from every genre continues with the book When We Ride by Rex Ogle. Here is how it is described. In this masterfully crafted tale in verse, every line is packed with emotion, following two boys whose bond is both sweet and dangerous. Friends since age 9, Diego and Lawson have somehow made drastically different choices, leading the two down different, divergent paths. Now 18 and high school seniors, their unbreakable connection is about to face its greatest test. Through simple yet poetic storytelling, Rex Ogle explores the complexities of friendship. When Diego becomes Lawson's personal driver, what starts out as simple just weed transactions escalates into something Diego can no longer ignore. Ogle brilliantly captures Diego's internal battle between his personal desire for excellence, loyalty to Lawson, and his mother's hope for his future. This is a raw and unflinching story. That sounds really interesting. I think the thing that got me the most the two things that got me the most were that it is being told in verse. I like books that do it well. And that it is about male friendship, which I think, when done incredibly well, can be very, very touching. Another nonfiction book, Waste Wars, The Wild Afterlife of Your Trash. This is by Alexander Clapp. If you've ever received an email claiming to be from an African prince who wants nothing more than to transfer his fortune to you, then you've encountered the work of the Burner Boys of Ogbugblashi, one of the most poisonous places on Earth. There, between smoldering piles of plastic and flimsy tents, a den of identity thieves and catfishers eke out a living, extracting data from the phones and computers casually tossed out by thousands every day. Initially, I was like, I don't want to read about the life of my trash. And now I'm like, now I really want to read about the life of my trash. It sounds really interesting, especially learning more about the living conditions. Next up, we have a book entitled Lloyd McNeil's Last Ride. This is going to be, it sounds like general fiction. This is by Will Leach. How is it possible that a slim novel about a divorced father receiving a terminal cancer diagnosis and who is tracking a serial killer could be one of the funniest, most endearing screwball and, yes, heartwarming books we've read this year? Okay, that is selling me on it. Heartwarming, screwball, funny. I'm gonna keep my eye out for this. Again, originally I'm like, I don't want to read about that. A terminal cancer I don't want, no. And then now I'm like, yes, give it to me. So it says, forget incels and toxic masculinity. This is a Valentine to the dads who show up and show out. I love that. I'm telling you, this list has everything. Next is a celebrity memoir. It's called Matriarch. It's by Tina Knowles. And this is a memoir told from Beyonce's mother, the Beyonce. It's her mother's memoir. Yeah, I'm just not interested. I also have a visitor. Next up is a Taylor Jenkins Reid book entitled Atmosphere. I don't even remember the last book that she wrote because I don't pay attention to Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have read all of one book by her, Daisy Jones and the Six, which I liked but didn't love. And this book is going to be about a 1980s astronaut. Very Taylor Jenkins Reid-y, if you were to ask me. The first mystery thriller on our list, and it's called Dead Monkey by Jacob Kerr. Here's what they say. Silicon Valley insider Jacob Kerr gives readers a lot to love here. A fintech locked room murder mystery, a booby-trapped will left by a murdered billionaire CEO, two reluctant investigative partners, and a powerful venture capitalist who is not about to see his investment buried along with that CEO. Huh. Well, if descriptions were one thing, it's getting me interested, although I have plenty of mystery thrillers that I do want to read. Okay, next up, another memoir, but one that is more up my alley rather than a celebrity memoir. It's called Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks. I read one book by Brooks last year and I really enjoyed it. This is going to be about the immediate aftermath of Geraldine Brooks's husband's sudden death. And 3 years later, when she takes the time to grieve, Memorial Days is a emotional, pragmatic, and filled with keen observations of this literary luminary's broken heart. This sounds beautiful. I also know that Geraldine has credit with me because I did love the book that I read by her and would love to read more. And so if this memoir is as thoughtful and well rendered as the fiction book I read by her, then I think this could be a hit for me. Next up is a book by a very young writer. This is her sophomore book. It is The Girls Who Grew Big by Layla Motley, who wrote Nightcrawling, which was, I believe, longlisted for the Booker a couple of years ago. I didn't personally read it, and it got mixed reviews at the time. Anyways, this is about 3 teen moms who live in the Florida Panhandle. They're being judged by everyone, family, society, and even each other. But the book is ultimately about friendship, found family, and big dreams. It sounds like one of those really very touching, heartwarming books. I like the cover of the book, I will say that. Next up is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is the prequel to The Hunger Games. I feel like past Shelley read The Hunger Games and current Shelley doesn't want to read anything Hunger Games related or adjacent, okay? Next up is The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. This is the same Vuong who wrote On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, a book I haven't read, but I've read both of his poetry collections. This book, though, The Emperor of Gladness, is all about a young man's suicide attempt being interrupted by an octogenarian with severe dementia. This is how the book is described. People with nothing who owe each other nothing, and yet they inherently understand something that so many of us do not in this increasingly divisive world. Even the description is poetic. I love it. Another nonfiction book, again, exposing the icky details of a company, and it's called No More Tears, The Dark Secrets of Johnson & Johnson by Gardner Harris. There is perhaps no brand more trusted than Johnson & Johnson, which is why this story that accuses the company of blatantly lying and law-breaking is so shocking and devastating. Gardner Harris's eye-popping expose, our #1 pick for the best nonfiction of the year so far, will make you shake with rage and incredulity and never look at baby powder or Tylenol the same way again. Oh wow, okay, so I haven't read a lot of these descriptions beforehand, so this is their #1 nonfiction book. That's amazing. I love that. And now I kind of want to read it. Okay, I already said that I wanted to read about Pornhub takedown, but we can read about multiple takedowns this year, okay? And the Johnson & Johnson one is really, really getting me going. It's really tickling my fancy. The number one mystery thriller on this list is going to be King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. I've heard great things. It's supposed to be, Cosby's writing is dark and gritty, but also very compelling and easy to read. Maybe difficult to read. Maybe it just propels you to reading it. I'm not sure. But anyways, this is going to be a southern riff on The Godfather that goes both wider and deeper, but than the tormented family drama, with really high stakes. And it sounds like there are going to be two psycho sadist gangster brothers against our main protagonist, okay? This just reading about it sounds like a whole heck of a good time. And then their number one fiction book, which I was kind of surprised, but also not surprised because it seems to be getting a lot of buzz, and it is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. I read Once There Were Wolves by the same author. I liked it but didn't love it. I quite liked it but didn't love it. She was doing a lot. There was a lot. And I think that if she reined it in ever so slightly, it would have done really, really well for me. But because it was slightly unhinged, which was part of the purpose of it, it didn't quite hit so hard. But this is going to be about... She unfurls the mystery of why a father, his 3 children, and a strange woman battered from a shipwreck find themselves on a remote island off the coast of Antarctica, where the air is thick with the spirits of the dead. They are alone and they stay in this inhospitable place. And then, you're uncovering the secrets of all the people involved. It sounds really good, and it sounds like... One of the critiques I had about Once There Were Wolves is that the characters were in so many different places that it felt a little floaty almost, because there wasn't a grounded place that the characters were at. They were sort of everywhere all at once. In terms of the globe, it was a very global book. And this, it sounds like she's anchoring them to somewhere small and remote, which might be really, really good for this author. Anyways, let me know if you read this one or any of them. I am so excited to have dove in with you. This was really fun. So thanks so much for spending this time with me, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye!